Girl, and I am so excited to host Rich Girl Workshop. And this is going to be episode Lucky 113. So thanks for joining us for this short, gosh, usually under 15-minute broadcast every single week that comes to you live. You can join us live, or of course you can catch us on YouTube, and that would be under Suzanne Brothers / Rich Girl. And of course, many of the recordings are already on this Facebook Live. You can catch those at any time. We want to thank our past guests for last month because they did an incredible job. I mean, didn't they? Oh my golly. I thought their topics were perfect and they blend really so well with what our whole entire Rich Girl theme is. I want to also give a personal thank you for sharing this broadcast, these subjects with some of your friends, your relatives, people that you associate with. And I love getting your comments, many of your personal messages to me. And I also welcome any suggestions that you have, even on topics for the future. Okay, so we got to get right into it. We don't mess around. We get right into it because I value your time so much. So I want to talk to you about being your best. I know that's a broad subject. I know that people talk about it all the time, but I have some specific things on this particular podcast that is always done live. I never edit it. Of course, you can tell I never edit it. Giving it to you live here, number 113, being your best. So I recently listened to a podcast with guest speaker, Dr. Edith Edgar. I'm also a psychologist and author of 2 New York best-selling books. Now, here's her background. She and her entire family were Jews living in Hungary, and they were taken by the Nazis to an extermination camp. And she watched her family being driven into the gas chambers, all of her family except for her and her sister, as they were young teens and early into their life. She told the story of one day the U.S. Army and the Allies came and to free all of them. And the men came, they came, and armed forces walking over graphic dead bodies, and they finally found her. She was still alive in one of those heaps. And when they carried her out, she saw the prisoners that had walked out before her out of those gates had come back in, turned around and came back in and walked inside the prison camp. Many of them sat down on the wet mud. Some of them went back into their barracks, but they wouldn't leave and they didn't move. Why? Oh my gosh, why? She was told later that when someone has lived so long in a certain way that no matter how painful or sad or even dangerous that it is, this is what they know. And the change that they make is so disturbing that they go back to that life even though it was so life-threatening. Those prisoners may not have imagined, after they'd been in there for so long, many years, could not have even imagined a better life or how their life could be if they were liberated. Most had lost all hope. And hope, as you and I both know, hope is central for everything that we hold dear. Now, you may be doing what I was doing. I'm just shaking my head as I listen to this, shaking my head and asking myself, how is this possible? The suffering of the prisoners must have been so horrific that they prayed every day and every night for this relief. They saw things and experiencing things that no human should ever experience. But really, you guys, really seriously, how are we kind of like that? Do we walk back into the hands of our own self-inflicted oppressors ourselves? Do we allow our past to become our future? Or do we imagine a different us? Imagining one who is powerful, kind, creative, and passionate? Do we imagine ourselves as being energy-filled and courageous and fun and loving? And one who has goals and dreams and acts on those ambitions? Do we imagine that? You know, some catchphrases that we hear all the time may have a little bit more meaning now. They certainly do to me. And that is that what you tell yourself is what you are. I know you've all heard that 100 times, 100,000 times, right? We hear it, but do we really hear what we tell ourselves is what we are? Do we also tell ourselves that watch, listen, and correct what you are thinking? For how you think is what you feel, and how you feel is the actions that you will take. You're not driven by your feelings, you guys. You're driven by your thoughts. The most important work that you will ever do, you've heard this, right, is the 6 inches between your own two ears. Imagine what could be a powerful, powerful thought for you and stick with it. Just don't have it be a fleeting thought. Let it stay. Let it resonate with you. Let it become part of who you are. Because after all, you're the one who thought of it, right? Of course. Now, are we imagining ourselves as the person we want to be and also forgiving the person that we must let go of? What are we holding on to? Because whatever we're holding on to, newsflash, it grows, whatever we're holding on to. So are you and I like-minded in this? Is that we want to grow in several areas of our life. I know for me, if you and I were making a list together, it would be growing in appreciation, grow in love, kindness, generosity, thoughtfulness, worthiness, and knowing, and also knowing down to our toes that we are enough. All of that is self-loving, and self-loving is also self-care. Now, let's go to perfectionism for a minute because this is something I've troubled myself with for a long time. There is not a perfect you. There is not a perfect family, a perfect husband, and perfect kids, perfect friends. There's no perfect careers, although I feel like I pretty much came from one and retired from one. We're all flawed. And no matter what you see on social media or television or anything like that, those are not perfect people. They're really not. We are all flawed in most areas of our life. We have flaws, and those flaws are what creates the beauty that we really have. Just like in art, nothing in art is perfect. Okay, so I will admit to you something that some people know, and that is that I am dyslexic. Didn't find out until I was much, much older. Okay, I can read, but I want to tell you that for years of my early childhood, I struggled and struggled and struggled with just reading. My brain doesn't really get numbers correctly, although I'm kind of good in math, but doesn't get numbers correctly. And my spelling is usually wrong and far off. And there's more. Oh gosh, you guys, there's so more. Trust me on that. However, the flaw is also what makes me me. If I stopped or I became paranoid, and believe me, I have had paranoia about this, I would probably have never started a business. I probably would have never gone on to do or be anything. That would always be my excuse. And that excuse would have so much power over me. I would look for a pack or a path. I would look for my own path back to the prison yard that I knew. Yeah. Okay. Our flaws reveal our courage, and that nudges us to be more. So, Dr. Edith, she said many things, but there are some of my takeaways I want to share with you today since we have this time together. One of the takeaways that she had was love is a four-letter word spelled Time. Spelled that correct, right? Okay. But love is a four-letter word spelled time. We are patient with others far more than we are with ourselves, right? Yeah. But time is a healer. Time gives us perspective. Time allows us for growth and self-education. When we know better as us, we can do better. Doesn't mean we'll always do better, but it makes us available to ourselves to do better. One of the second statements that Dr. Edith had, besides love being time. The opposite of expression, you guys, I love this. The opposite of expression is depression. It's not what comes out of our bodies that makes us ill. It's what stays in there that does. And I have found that thinking too long about how or what or how I would express myself takes a lot of effort of thinking. My perfectionism takes over, and then many times the percentage is high. I do nothing. I put it off, or I make promises that I will start it later or when the time is right. But the problem is the time is never right. Never. So expression is not just a once in a while thing that we do. No, expression is really part of who we are as humans. We were born to express. Born to express. Okay, now pause for a second. I want you to think about the things we've talked about today. But the only way to get this ball rolling and keep it rolling is to push it yourself. You cannot wait for someone else to do so. You can't wait for the circumstances in life to change or get better. You can't wait for others to get you or get why you want what you want. Your dream is a God-given dream. But it's also, my friends, it's also fragile. Protect it. Protect your dream, but don't hide it. Okay? Protect your dream. What we are unwilling to do, if we're unwilling to do it, it's standing in the way of our results that we want. So be willing. Make the decision. Put in that thought, I'm willing to do this. God does not ask you about your ability to do something. He only asks you about your availability. Because if you're available, I know he makes you able. Okay, that's just the way I know things work. So set up some small victories for yourself. Nothing will help you grow more than having few wins under your belt. Ding, bing, right? Right. You know this stuff. I know you know it. I'm here to just remind you of what you already know, you smart girl. Okay, so belief. I want to talk to you about belief because the war is on for belief. The moment that you give yourself the authority to believe, you guys, that is a deliberate act. Deliberately giving yourself the authority to believe. Then what happens is others will take you more to heart. People will need your belief. Believe me, they need your belief more now than ever before in the history of our world. They need your dreams. They need your energy. They are looking for someone to follow because we as humans are wired that way. We are wired to follow someone that has strong belief. We are wired to follow someone with energy. So you be that belief. You be that energy. Start small, get some victories under your belt. You can totally do this. Okay, so everything will come through this filter of belief. The template of belief comes from you. Believe me, it does. Okay. Because of belief and that never give up, never give in attitude, what seems impossible becomes what? It becomes possible. Why? Why does it become possible? Because in our experience, God's hand usually lifts us after all that we can do. It lifts us after all that we can do. But the second part of this is we know when we've done all that we can do. We also know when we're selling ourselves short, right? Your belief creates belief in others. We know that. We just talked about that. But with this personal daily action, it becomes an unbeatable plan. And guess what? God takes notice of it. I know that to be true. So if you are playing too small, then decide to be a better self today or half the day, but make a decision, right? Start now. Only look back, in the past for the lessons that you learned there, not the time or think that you have judged yourself that you've lost too much time. Please don't say that. Oh, I've lost too much time. Oh, I can't get started now. Oh, I wasted this or I wasted that. You guys stop it. Seriously, stop it. Because what happens is if you think about all the times that you've lost, now what you're doing is you're even wasting more time and losing more time. So just stop it. If you're still living and breathing, you still have time. Is your heart? Put your hand over your heart. Is it beating? You have time. Okay, here's what I know, that we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. The platform of our lives is always going to be spiritual. All things are spiritual. But it also comes with goals, dreams, and your best life attached to it. So becoming your best self, it starts with every single moment, every single day, every single decision, every single way we decide to invest or waste our most precious gift, and that is time. And it is supported by our thoughts. I want to end with two mothers standing on the side of the pool. One of the two toddlers that are there falls into the pool. Who jumps in to save the toddler? The one who can swim or the mother of the 2-year-old? Now, did the mother of the 2-year-old that couldn't swim say, oh, no, gee, I can't even swim? Or did she say, wait a minute, is this water clean and safe? Or did she say, well, what if I fail and what if I look foolish? Okay, no. She just jumps in. So please don't overthink before you take action. Please don't overthink before you take action. I really enjoyed this beautiful message today because it has so many threads of my own life. And as I end this day for this 113th, I ask you a question, and may I ask it? Who jumped into the pool to save you? All right, let's be that person. Let's express. Let's express ourselves. Let's not be depressed, but let's express. Let's take time. Let's move as quickly as we can, but give yourself time, the most precious of all our commodities, and then back it up with beautiful and self-empowering thoughts. Okay, you guys, love you. Thanks for joining us.